Hello, and welcome to Somniora Mind. I'm glad you're here. Here's a paradox to carry into tonight's drift. Nothing on this planet ever really stops moving, and yet somehow, that constant motion is exactly what makes it feel so peaceful. So here are 3 quiet questions to fall asleep inside of. What is actually happening, biologically, in the hour just before dawn, when the whole world seems to hold its breath? Why do so many of Earth's cleverest survival tricks belong to creatures small enough to fit in the palm of your hand? And what would it feel like to experience one full day on this planet, slowly, the way the Earth itself experiences it? Not in hours, but in something closer to breaths. Here's where we begin, with a fact worth sitting inside of. Right now, somewhere on this planet, the sun is rising over an ordinary patch of forest, and the moment it does, an enormous, wordless shift begins to ripple outward across everything living nearby, all at once, without a single signal being sent. Let that settle for a moment. Nobody has to announce sunrise to a leaf, or a bee, or a bird. The whole living world simply feels it arrive, together, and responds. Tonight, instead of drifting through a list of scattered facts, let's follow that same slow, ordinary rhythm. One quiet day and night on Earth, from first light to deepest dark, and everything remarkable quietly happening in between. Get comfortable. Let your shoulders soften into whatever is holding you. Let your breathing slow into something long and unhurried. And when you're ready, let's begin at dawn. As the very first light spreads across a forest canopy, the leaves are already waiting for it. Each leaf carries a fine network of veins, branching outward like a miniature river system, delivering water and minerals to every corner of its surface. Tiny pores called stomata begin to open, letting carbon dioxide in and oxygen out, while a green pigment called chlorophyll starts quietly converting sunlight into usable energy, not only for the plant itself, but, indirectly, for nearly every living thing nearby. Some leaves will spend the whole day gently tracking the sun's position across the sky. None of this requires thought. It only requires light and a structure built, with extraordinary precision, to receive it. Not far away, a bee lifts off toward the very same light. To your eyes, an ordinary flower nearby looks like a simple wash of color. To the bee, it looks entirely different, alive with ultraviolet patterns invisible to us, glowing landing guides leading directly toward the nectar inside, an entire hidden visual language layered quietly over the one we happen to see. As the bee approaches, its wing beats create a small vibration in the air, and some flowers actually respond to that exact sound, producing sweeter nectar within minutes, almost like a wordless greeting exchanged between 2 very different kinds of life. Underground, entirely out of sight, an older, slower kind of morning is also unfolding. Trees are connected to one another by vast underground networks of thin fungal threads, quietly exchanging nutrients, chemical warnings, and shared resources throughout the day. Older trees, sometimes called mother trees, funnel sugars towards smaller seedlings nearby, part of a hidden web some researchers have started calling the Wood Wide Web. None of it is conscious, the way a decision feels to you or me. But it is deeply, genuinely cooperative, a forest behaving less like a crowd of competitors and more like one large, quietly breathing community, waking up together beneath the very same morning light. The very air filling that forest carries its own quiet, ancient history. More than 2 billion years ago, Earth's atmosphere held almost no oxygen at all, until simple photosynthetic microbes called cyanobacteria began releasing it as a quiet byproduct of their own metabolism, eventually triggering what's now called the Great Oxidation Event, lethal to countless early life forms. And yet, eventually, the very foundation that allowed complex, oxygen-breathing life, including everything waking up in this forest, to exist at all. Those same ancient microbes left behind physical proof of their work. Layered, rock-like formations called stromatolites, some fossilized specimens dated back over 3.5 billion years, among the oldest confirmed evidence of life anywhere on the planet. Every breath drawn in this waking forest, human or otherwise, carries, quietly folded inside it, the legacy of some of the very first architects this planet ever had. Let's follow the sun a little higher now, into the heat of midday, because this is when some of the planet's quieter survival strategies really begin to show themselves. There's a rhythm worth noticing here, before we go further. Morning belonged to gentle beginnings, a leaf catching light, a bee following a hidden trail of ultraviolet color, a forest quietly passing sugar between its own roots. Midday asks for something different from the living world. It asks for endurance. The sun climbs higher, the air grows heavier, and every creature caught beneath it has had to find its own particular answer to the same simple, ancient problem. How do you keep going when the world itself turns hard and demanding for a while? Some answers involve slowing down entirely. Others involve clever engineering, hidden underground, or built quietly into blood and skin over millions of years. Let's drift through a few of them now, the way the day itself would. In the driest deserts of Africa and the Middle East, a camel moves steadily across open sand, unhurried and rarely thirsty, capable of going weeks without drinking water at all. Contrary to popular belief, its humps don't store water, they store fat, slowly converted into both energy and a small amount of water as needed, while remarkably efficient kidneys and a body temperature allowed to fluctuate throughout the day help minimize how much moisture is lost to sweat. Every part of a camel has been quietly shaped, piece by piece, around the simple fact of scarcity. Elsewhere, in a poor patch of soil where nutrients are hard to come by, a different kind of patience is at work. Some plants have given up waiting politely for nitrogen to arrive and have started hunting for it instead. A Venus flytrap actually counts the footsteps of an insect landing on its surface, refusing to close until it senses more than one touch, avoiding the wasted energy of a false alarm. Pitcher plants form deep, slippery wells lined with digestive fluid, while sundews glisten with tiny sticky tentacles that slowly curl inward around anything unlucky enough to land there. Even the gentlest, most ordinary-looking greenery, it turns out, can be hiding a quiet appetite, patiently waiting through the brightest, busiest part of the day for exactly the right moment to close. High overhead, in the full heat of the afternoon sun, a very different kind of desert once existed in this same general stretch of the world. The Sahara, today dry and golden, was green only 6,000 to 8,000 years ago, fed by regular seasonal rain, dotted with rivers and shimmering lakes, home to elephants, crocodiles, and early humans who left behind cave paintings of a landscape almost unrecognizable today. A slow, gradual shift in the tilt of the Earth's own orbit eventually reversed the reins, and the desert crept back in. But beneath the sand, ancient lake beds and fossilized trees still quietly hold the memory of that greener, wetter world. Proof that even the harshest, most sun-baked landscape on the planet was, once, something entirely different. Let's rest for a moment here. Breathe in slowly, for a count of 4. Hold it. Let it go, slower than it arrived. Somewhere in the heat of midday, right now, a camel is doing exactly this, at its own unhurried pace, patient with the sun rather than fighting it. Beneath the same midday sun, in volcanic hot springs scattered around the world, temperatures soar past boiling and the water itself can be as acidic as battery acid. And still, something lives there. These environments are home to extremophiles, microbes specifically adapted to conditions that would be instantly lethal to nearly everything else. Rather than relying on sunlight, many draw usable energy directly from sulfur, iron, or other minerals dissolved in the scalding water around them. Their cells built with specially adapted proteins that resist the kind of heat and acid damage that would destroy an ordinary cell almost instantly. Some researchers believe these hardy microbes closely resemble the very earliest life that ever existed on this planet. In the harshest, most hostile corners of Earth, life doesn't simply endure the midday heat. It finds a foothold, quietly, even in fire, not far beneath the surface of the very ground the camel walks across. Another quiet survivor spends the entire day underground, almost entirely out of the sun. Naked mole rats, small and largely hairless, seem to have sidestepped several of the usual rules of aging altogether. They don't show the typical rise in mortality that comes with advancing age elsewhere in the animal kingdom. They resist cancer remarkably well, and they can live for up to 30 years, an extraordinarily long lifespan for a rodent their size. A 5-year-old naked mole rat and a 25-year-old one look remarkably similar on the inside. Scientists study them closely, hoping their unusual biology might one day offer real clues about longevity and resilience in general. While the sun blazes directly overhead, these small, quiet creatures simply continue on, entirely unbothered, in the cool dark beneath it. In the branches above, a parrot watches the whole scene with more understanding than you might expect. Some species, like the African gray, have shown the ability to count, to grasp concepts like same and different, and even to understand the idea of zero, a level of abstract reasoning shared by only a small handful of animals, including chimpanzees and dolphins. Nearby, in a low hive humming quietly in the shade, bees carry a similar surprise. In careful experiments, they've been trained to associate fewer shapes with a reward, and when shown a blank card with no shapes at all, they consistently chose it over cards with one or more, grasping, in their own small way, that nothing is less than something. A brain smaller than a grain of rice, reasoning in the same abstract terms as a toddler. In a nearby tide pool, meanwhile, a small decorator crab spends the afternoon carefully attaching bits of algae and sponge to its own shell, slowly building a living disguise that will keep it hidden long after the sun goes down. As the afternoon stretches on, let's follow the day toward water, because the coast holds its own particular rhythm. Along the shore, coral reefs quietly continue their long, patient work, not built by plants or rock, but by tiny animals called polyps, each one secreting a hard mineral skeleton beneath its own soft body. Layer by layer, over centuries, those skeletons accumulate into vast underwater structures capable of stretching for miles, supporting close to a quarter of all marine life despite covering only a sliver of the ocean floor. Once a year, timed by the pull and light of the moon, entire reefs will release their eggs and sperm into the water all at once. A brief, drifting snowstorm of new life, cued by the same quiet celestial rhythm that has shaped tides for as long as oceans have existed. Nearby, in the shallows, a small crab practices its own quiet kind of artistry, carefully attaching bits of algae, seaweed, and even living sponges to its shell, slowly building a moving disguise that continues growing even after it's attached. And drifting past, entirely unnoticed by most people walking along the shore, an ordinary drop of seawater turns out to hold thousands, sometimes millions, of microscopic organisms, plankton, algae, bacteria, and tiny drifting larvae, forming the very base of the food web that eventually supports everything from small reef fish to the largest whale that has ever lived. As the afternoon light begins to lower, birds start gathering along the coastline, preparing for journeys that will carry some of them thousands of miles before the season changes. Part of their secret lies in an ability we simply don't have, a quiet sensitivity to Earth's own magnetic field, sensed through tiny crystals tucked inside their heads, or perhaps through specialized proteins in their eyes that let them perceive magnetism as a faint pattern layered over what they see. Sea turtles use a similar sense to return, years later, to the exact beach where they first hatched, decades after leaving it as hatchlings small enough to fit in your palm. Salmon, further inland, use a version of the same sense to find their way back to the precise stream where their own life first began. The mechanism is still only partly understood by the researchers who study it most closely. The result, though, is simple and constant. The Earth quietly whispers direction, all day, every day, and countless creatures, across countless species, have simply, patiently learned to listen. Out past the breaking waves, dolphins move through the late afternoon light in their own complex social world, coordinating hunts and maintaining bonds through a rich system of clicks and whistles. Each dolphin develops a unique signature whistle early in life, something close to a personal name, which other dolphins learn and remember, calling out to specific individuals across the group. Researchers studying these exchanges have found hints of something close to the earliest building blocks of language itself, structured enough to coordinate complex group behavior and resolve social tension over years at a time. The deep roots of language, quietly echoing beneath the waves long before any human voice ever asked where language itself began. Farther out, in deeper water, whales carry on a slower, lower conversation of their own, songs loud and low enough to travel for thousands of miles underwater, each population carrying its own evolving dialect, passed down across generations almost like an oral tradition. These same waters have belonged to sharks for more than 400 million years, long enough that they were swimming through Earth's oceans before a single tree existed anywhere on land. And drifting invisibly above the whole scene, insects outnumber every person watching the sunset from shore by roughly 200 million to 1, pollinating, recycling, and quietly sustaining almost everything green for hundreds of millions of years running. Let's pause here for the tagline that's become a little ritual of its own on this channel. Because if any of this is helping your mind unwind tonight, and you'd like more of these slow drifts through the strange and the vast, you're welcome to stay a while longer or come back another night. One quiet mind at a time. That's really all this is for. Let's rest here for a moment. Let your breathing slow the way the light itself slows in late afternoon. Softer, longer, less urgent than it was even an hour ago. There's no need to hold on to anything tightly right now. Just let the day keep tilting gently toward evening, the way it always does, without needing any help from you at all. Now, back into the dark, as the sun finally begins to set. As the light fades, the forest starts to change its rhythm entirely. Somewhere nearby, a wolf moves quietly along a riverbank, a species that, decades ago, was absent from certain landscapes entirely, and whose return quietly reshaped everything around it. Fewer grazing animals lingering nervously near the water allowed vegetation to recover, trees and shrubs to grow taller, beavers to return and rebuild their dams, and rivers themselves to gradually become narrower and more stable. One species, simply behaving as it always had, ended up reshaping an entire landscape from the ground up, a reminder that everything out here is more connected than it usually looks in the fading evening light. As true darkness settles in, an owl lifts silently from its perch. Specialized, softly fringed feathers break up the turbulence that would normally create noise as air rushes past its wings, allowing it to hunt in near total silence. Guided by extraordinary low-light vision and hearing sensitive enough to detect the faintest rustle beneath fallen leaves. Nearby, fireflies begin to blink through the grass and low branches, males flashing a specific rhythm as they fly, females answering with a precisely timed reply from below, an entire courtship conducted purely in blinking light. Somewhere in a quiet nest tucked into the same tree line, an egg is already, quietly, alive. Long before a chick ever breaks free of its shell, it begins to chirp softly from inside, rhythmic little calls that turn out to be part of an early conversation. Mother hens respond by gently turning the egg or softly clucking back, and even unhatched siblings nearby can respond to one another, loosely coordinating their hatching times, so the whole clutch tends to emerge close together. The egg was never really silent. It's been quietly, patiently alive with tiny voices long before anyone outside could hear them. Along the same darkening shoreline, on stone and mountain cliff alike, patches of lichen cling quietly to the rock, looking like one plain organism from a distance. In truth, each is a partnership between a fungus and an alga or cyanobacterium. The fungus providing structure, while its partner produces food from whatever light remains, together surviving in places too harsh for either to manage alone. And should a flood ever come through this same patch of forest, fire ants nearby would already know exactly what to do, linking legs and mandibles together into an enormous living raft, carrying their queen and colony safely across open water, no single ant directing the effort, the whole structure simply emerging from thousands of small, simple decisions made at once. Deeper in the tree line, spiders spend the evening spinning something quietly extraordinary, silk stronger, weight for weight, than steel, and far more flexible, assembled from proteins arranged with near-architectural precision. Not far away, a crow settles into a branch for the night, having spent part of its afternoon carefully shaping a stick into a precise tool for extracting insects from tight crevices, a small act of quiet invention passed down by watching older birds do the same. And somewhere farther off, in a rainforest half a world away, a bird of paradise is still finishing its evening display, feathers shimmering in metallic blue and fiery orange, performing one last careful sequence of hops and bows before the light disappears completely, judged closely by a female watching quietly from above. Out along the coast, the true dark brings its own quiet spectacle. Waves begin to glow faintly with each movement, a soft blue-green light rippling wherever the water is disturbed. Not reflected moonlight, but a chemical reaction happening inside countless tiny bioluminescent plankton, the same basic trick a firefly uses on land, borrowed by the sea. This same ability to glow has evolved independently across the tree of life more than 40 separate times, used to attract, to warn, to hide, or simply to survive in a place sunlight has never once reached. Somewhere in that same dark water, a small jellyfish drifts along, carrying its own quiet trick, able, if injured, to revert to an earlier stage of its own life and simply begin again, cycling gently between damage and renewal, unhurried, for as long as the sea allows it to continue. Let's rest deeper now into the stillness of true night, because this is when some of the planet's strangest processes happen almost entirely out of sight. Somewhere between the last glow of the reef and the deep, silent water beyond it, an entire second ocean seems to wake up as the surface one grows still, creatures that stayed hidden through the brightest hours begin to rise closer to the surface under cover of darkness. Part of what researchers call the largest migration on Earth, happening every single night, in nearly every ocean, almost entirely unnoticed by anyone standing on shore. Billions of small fish, shrimp, and drifting plankton move upward together as the light fades and sink back down again before dawn, a tide of life rising and falling with the sun in a rhythm older than any human calendar. In the deepest, darkest water, far beyond where any daylight has ever traveled, fish drift past carrying small glowing lures in front of their own mouths. Translucent predators move almost invisibly through the dark. Spindly crabs walk the sea floor like small mechanical creatures. Some organisms survive entirely on chemical energy released from deep hydrothermal vents, with no connection to sunlight at all. We've explored only a small fraction of this hidden layer of our own planet, and what little we've seen already suggests an entire quiet, alien world resting directly beneath the ocean most of us only ever know from its calm, sunlit surface. Closer to the surface, in the same dark water, a mudskipper that spent part of its day out on the mud flats has long since returned to the shallows, breathing through its skin and the moist lining of its mouth, one of a handful of fish that have quietly learned to blur the line between sea and shore. And somewhere nearby, an elephant far inland pauses beside the bones of a relative it once knew, touching them gently with its trunk before moving on. A quiet, private moment of something very close to grief, carried by an animal whose memory, it turns out, may run every bit as deep as its size suggests. Not far from the reef, where earlier the corals released their eggs into the current in one precisely timed, moonlit burst, a single clownfish drifts near an anemone, carrying its own quiet flexibility. Should the group's sole breeding female ever die, the dominant male's own body will transition to take her place, hormones shifting, organs reorganizing. Proof that identity in the ocean can bend to circumstance in ways it rarely does on land. On the damp forest floor nearby, a slime mold with no brain and no nervous system at all continues its slow, patient search for the most efficient path between 2 points of food, using nothing but chemical signals and feedback. And underground, earthworms keep tunneling steadily through the dark soil, aerating it, breaking down fallen leaves, quietly building the very foundation every forest and farm above them depends on. Inside every living thing wandering through this night, the elephant, the mudskipper, the sleeping camel, and you, an entire hidden community carries on its own separate, parallel existence. Trillions of microorganisms live inside and on every body here, helping digest food, producing certain vitamins, staying in constant, quiet chemical contact with the nervous system above them. Not one creature moving through tonight's darkness is really traveling alone. Each is its own walking collaboration, made of far more than just itself. On land, the night brings its own quiet transformations. Some frogs, deep into the colder months, will freeze completely solid, hearts stopped, blood turned to ice, bodies fully rigid, protected by natural antifreeze compounds that keep their cells intact until spring finally returns, and they simply thaw and hop away, as if nothing unusual had happened at all. Certain insects do something remarkably similar, producing their own natural cryoprotectants that allow them to survive being frozen solid through the harshest part of winter. Their metabolism slowed nearly to a complete stop until warmth returns. Even a small flatworm, cut into several pieces by accident or by curious researchers, can quietly regrow each fragment into a complete, fully functional worm, using a special population of stem cells capable of becoming any tissue it needs. Not far from where the flatworm drifts, deep beneath the forest floor, grows something far larger and far older. A single fungus, spreading underground for more than 2,000 acres, quietly connecting an entire forest through one enormous, ancient network of thread-like filaments. Somewhere nearby, in a very different grove, a colony of aspens shares roots so completely that every visible trunk is, genetically, the very same tree, old enough to have been growing when woolly mammoths still walked the earth. And running beneath both of them, and beneath everything else alive tonight, is the same slow, patient rhythm that has continued for hundreds of millions of years. The carbon cycle, carrying a single atom from your own breath into a leaf, into an animal, into the ground, and eventually, slowly, back into the air again. Somewhere in the branches above the sleeping forest, a chameleon shifts color one last time before settling in for the night. Not for camouflage this time, but simply reflecting the calm of rest itself, a soft green or brown, achieved not through pigment, but through microscopic crystals beneath its skin rearranging to reflect light differently. Physics quietly standing in for expression. In the water nearby, certain fish and sharks drift with only half of their brain fully asleep at a time, the other half staying quietly alert to monitor the current. Proof that even something as universal as sleep bends endlessly to fit whatever a creature needs to make it safely through the dark. And in the ocean itself, a single drop of seawater, small enough to balance on a fingertip, still holds thousands of microscopic organisms, plankton, algae, bacteria, and drifting larvae, forming the very base of a food web that stretches, eventually, all the way up to the whales singing somewhere out past the reef. Every one of these small, sleeping, drifting, glowing creatures, and you, wherever you happen to be resting right now, shares something in common that reaches back further than any single one of tonight's facts. The calcium in every bone tonight, human or otherwise, was forged inside an ancient star that lived and died long before this planet ever existed, scattered outward in a supernova, gathered slowly by gravity, and eventually folded into oceans, forests, and the quiet architecture of every living thing drifting through this particular night. Even the smallest, least visible passengers carried by every one of these creatures tell a similarly old story. Not every virus in that ancient history turned out to be an enemy. Some quietly became woven into the genome itself, now essential to biology in ways ranging from brain development to reproduction. Ancient battles folded, over millions of years, into the very instructions that build a living body. Every creature drifting through tonight's darkness, in other words, carries the same layered kind of history. Part star, part ancient ocean, part old, resolved conflict, quietly rebuilt into something whole, breathing, and, for tonight, finally at rest. Elsewhere in the dark, a giraffe stands quietly on the open savanna, sleeping for as little as 30 minutes to 2 hours tonight, in short scattered bursts, with one member of its small group keeping watch while the others rest. Nearby, a mother kangaroo carries her own quiet trick through the night, capable of pausing the development of a fertilized embryo entirely whenever conditions call for it, nursing one joey outside the pouch while holding another completely on hold inside her. Buried in the soil beneath them both, a seed lies in complete stillness, patient enough to wait decades, even centuries, for exactly the right moment to finally sprout. And farther north, in the coldest reaches of the night, an Arctic fox moves silently across the snow, its coat shifting with the seasons between white and gray, quietly becoming the very landscape it walks across. Even in the middle of an ordinary city, tucked far from any forest or open field, a pigeon roosting quietly on a windowsill carries more memory than most people realize, capable of recognizing individual human faces and remembering exactly who has fed it, long after that person has changed their clothes entirely. Inside its own body, and inside yours, roughly 8% of the genome traces back to ancient viral DNA, passed down silently across millions of years, some of it now essential to biology itself. And somewhere in a landfill on the edge of that same city, certain bacteria and fungi are quietly, slowly breaking down plastic once assumed to last forever. Proof that even in the mess left behind by human hands, life keeps finding a new way to continue. And in the quiet hours before dawn, deep beneath a leaf somewhere nearby, a plant is doing something that sounds almost impossible for something without a brain. Having spent the day producing sugar from sunlight and storing it as starch, it now has to survive purely on that reserve until morning, and it appears to divide its remaining store of energy by the number of hours left until sunrise, adjusting its rate of consumption accordingly through the night. Burn too quickly, and it runs out early. Burn too slowly, and energy goes unused. Using nothing but molecular signals, night after night, it lands remarkably close to the right answer. It isn't a decision in any way we'd recognize, but it is, in its own quiet, wordless way, a plan, unfolding right now, in gardens and forests everywhere, while almost everyone sleeps through it entirely unaware. Let's rest for a while longer in this deepest, quietest part of the night, because your own body, even now, is doing something almost as remarkable. You are made of roughly 30 trillion individual cells, each carrying out its own small, specific task, and even as you lie here, entirely still, millions of them are quietly working to keep you whole, repairing, replacing, renewing, piece by piece, every single night. Like many living organisms, your body even emits a faint glow, an extremely low-level form of bioluminescence completely invisible to the naked eye, caused by small biochemical reactions occurring constantly inside your own cells. It's roughly 1,000 times too dim for any eye to detect directly, but it's there quietly shimmering in the dark all night long, exactly like nearly everything else we've drifted through together tonight, alive, active, and entirely at peace with being unseen. Let's rest, for a moment, on the quieter rhythm running underneath this entire day we've followed together, because almost none of it depended on speed, or force, or urgency of any kind. The leaf didn't rush to catch the morning light. The camel didn't fight the desert. It was simply built, slowly, to move through it without struggle. The wolf didn't set out to reshape a river. It just returned to living exactly as it always had, and let ordinary consequences unfold at their own pace. Even the naked mole rat's resistance to aging isn't built from anything sudden. It's a slow, cellular patience, stretched out gently over decades in the dark underground. Every single wonder we followed today, from the arithmetic quietly worked out inside a leaf to the raft of fire ants assembling only when the water demanded it, depended far more on quiet consistency than on any single dramatic moment. There's something worth letting settle in that, especially at this hour, this late into the night. So much of what looks, from a distance, like brilliance in the natural world turns out to be nothing more dramatic than ordinary patience, repeated calmly, for a very long time. The mole rat didn't rush toward a longer life. The lichen didn't force its partnership into existence overnight. The reef outside didn't build itself in a single generation, and neither did the fungus spreading quietly for 2,000 acres beneath the forest floor. Each of them simply kept doing the same small, steady thing, over and over, for long enough that the results eventually became remarkable. You don't need urgency right now either. You don't need to solve anything, or finish anything, or rush toward anything at all tonight. You only need to do what the rest of this planet has always known how to do so well. Settle in, breathe slowly, and let time, quietly, do some of the work for you. Let's slow all the way down now and gather the picture we've built together tonight. We followed a single, ordinary day across this planet, from the first quiet stir of a waking leaf to the deep, glowing stillness of the midnight sea. We watched a camel move calmly through scarcity and a forest quietly share its resources underground, connected by threads too fine to see. We felt the pull of an ancient, invisible compass guiding birds and turtles alike, and watched a wolf, without meaning to, reshape the very course of a river. We drifted past a frog turning to ice and back again, past a plant solving an equation with nothing but molecules, past a parrot that understands zero and a bee that agrees with it, and past our own bodies, faintly, secretly glowing in a way no eye will ever quite catch. None of it happened separately, either. The bee needed the flower, and the flower, in its own way, needed the bee. The wolf needed the river valley, and the river valley, eventually, needed the wolf. The fungus needed the tree roots it fed on, and the forest above needed exactly what that fungus quietly gave back. Nothing we drifted through tonight evolved in true isolation. Every strange, resilient trick belonged to some larger, overlapping web of relationships, most of it running quietly enough to go completely unnoticed, unless you happen to slow down enough, on some ordinary night like this one, to actually go looking for it. Maybe that's the thread worth carrying with you into sleep tonight. This entire planet moves through its days the same unhurried way you're about to move through this night. Not through force, not through urgency, but through small, quiet, repeated acts of patience, layered one on top of another, for long enough that they eventually become something remarkable. Nothing out here rushed to become what it is. Nothing needs to be finished tonight, either. Let your own breathing slow the way the world slows toward midnight. Let your body rest the way a leaf rests in the dark, quietly certain that morning, eventually, always comes back around. Rest now. You've earned it. Good night.